Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. You'll probably do this a few times over the rest of the day and tomorrow, but if you don't mind, could we give one more round of applause for Evangeline and all of the staff? It's amazing. It's amazing what they're doing. So, I wanted to talk about three things. First, some experiences of mine from law school that I wanted to share. Some experiences when I was a young lawyer. And then primarily the reason I was asked here today, what bar associations, and in particular, of course, I'm president of the Boston Bar Association this year, but this isn't about Boston. This is about what you might find is of great help to you personally and professionally by being aware of and getting involved in the bar associations in the area in which you will be practicing law. I think those three topics all have one shared theme, and it's about how important it is to build and support relationships with others if you're going to learn and grow as a lawyer, and I suppose that's necessary for all of us as human beings as well. But it is the relationships that you can find and nurture starting in law school can be so helpful to you. And as I look back, I mean, I don't like to sound like I'm a very old man, but as I look back on my career, I can see and remember people that served that such an important role for me. So, but it's hard to do, and I wasn't great at it. In law school, I went to Boston College, and there was a professor there who's now at Harvard, Marianne Glendon, who's like brilliant, right? She knows every area of the law. Property was her main area of expertise, but she's the kind of intimidatingly brilliant. And it turned out, I grew up in Western Mass, in Pittsfield, Mass. It was a GE town. And the next town over was where my mother was from. Dalton was a mill town. Crane paper makes the currency. They prints the paper for the currency. My mother always proudly told me. And it turned out Marianne Glendon grew up in Dalton, and my aunt had babysat for her. So my mother said, well, you gotta go and see Marianne Glendon when you get to law school. And I was like, I am not gonna do that. There's no way. Especially after I, saw her, and I was in her property class. So I did not go visit her. And about a month or so into law school, I was kind of glad I didn't, because we're in property class, and sometimes you get called on, right? So there's this case, they start out with very basic property, who owns what. There's this case that I will now never forget, Pearson versus Post, that's about two people chasing a fox. And so the second guy comes in while the first guy's already chasing him, grabs the fox. First guy sues, says, I had a bead on that fox. I own the fox. And so it's this leading property case. And I got called on. And Marianne Glendon said, could you please state the facts of Pearson versus Post? And I said, well, the case involved a dispute between two duck hunters. And obviously my notes were not that great from when I read the case. And she said, well, were they really duck hunters? And then she moved on to the next student. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't go talk to Marianne Glendon. She doesn't know who I am. I screwed up this. So the next year I meet her. And she said, your mother's from Dalton. Why didn't you call me? And I said, well, I was gonna, but I don't know if you remember, I called the fox hunters at Pearson versus Post duck hunters, and she said, oh, that's ridiculous. You should have come in. And I had her for another course. And one other thing. About a month later, I'm walking down the hall. I say, hello, professor. I'm about 20 feet down, and she, in this sweet voice, says, we did the duck hunters today. But the courses I took from her and the things I learned from her helped me to this day. You can get a framework for your legal career that really stays with you from professors in law school. And so my message to you on that is similar to what Chris said. Don't be like me. If professors are interested in students, I can vouch for that because I did a little bit of teaching as an adjunct, and it's a delight to have a student come up who wants to talk about an issue in class. So you should do that. Don't be like me. Don't say, oh, I don't want to do it. Do it. It will bring you riches for years later. I had similar experiences. It's amazing I survived. But similar experiences in when I started at a law firm. So I've done a lot of work for newspapers, First Amendment work. And I took a course from an adjunct professor who was the lawyer who represented the Boston Globe at the time, my third year of law school. And I ended up at his firm. And I got to do a project for him. I was very excited about it. It was a brief that was filed in front of the Supreme Judicial Court, our highest state. And after it was all done, I looked at the cover and it should say, Supreme Judicial Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I had printed and filed Supreme Judicial Court faux the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so, you're going to make mistakes. That's an important thing to remember. You are going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that it's all over. It doesn't mean you're not fit. You got to learn from them. I think I became a little more careful proofreader after that. But it happens. And the thing I want to say, whether you're in a firm or in government, there are people who you can find who will help you in your career. We all have them. And it won't always be easy. Someone who was very important to me when I started out was my biggest critic and my biggest supporter. I did work for this guy. It would be marked up and he was always polite about it, respectful, but there was no doubt at times my work was not up to what he expected and what it should have been. And other times, though, he was so supportive. And, I think of this guy, he's at another law firm now. I think of him so often. I wasn't sure if this was an appropriate story to tell, but I think I will anyway. He gave me opportunities. And one of the opportunities he gave me when I was a first-year associate, and I remember the day, and I'll tell you why. It's February 12, 1982. I know it's a long time ago. And we had worked on a case together that involved, it was a bankruptcy case, but it involved a constitutional issue. The Supreme Court had decided this issue. And we had a weekly litigation group meeting, and he asked me to give a presentation on the case, what the Supreme Court had done. And, so I'm 5 months on the job, I'm 25 years old, and believe me, I was intimidated by the partners around me. And even, someone at that age is 2 years older than you think they know everything, and you know nothing. So I did the presentation, it went fine. And the reason I've never forgot this was that next morning was a Saturday, and I got a call that my father had a heart attack. And I drove back to Pittsfield, and I was with my mother and my father in the hospital room, and I'm thinking, what can I say? It was scary. What can I say to, make him feel better, to bring some calm? And I said, because I'm at this big law firm, right? We're from a small town out there, so. And I said, I was asked to give this presentation yesterday to the litigation area. And, he smiled broadly. You could tell it made him happy. And this is why I wasn't quite sure if I should tell the story, but that is actually the last time, because he died the next day. That's the last time I saw my father smile. And I associate that, maybe I'm crazy, but I associate that with someone giving me an opportunity to do something. It wasn't the biggest thing in the world, but it was big to me. And so wherever you work, there are people who will give you opportunities, who will criticize the hell out of you, right? You gotta be ready for that. You just have to be ready for it. It hurts, it's demoralizing, but you can't get demoralized. You have to say, I'm just gonna take in what the message is here and apply it the next time. You cannot get demoralized about it. You can't say, I suck, I shouldn't be here. That's not true. We all make mistakes, and that is part of the learning process. So, all right, now I think they asked me here to talk about the Boston Bar Association, so I guess I better do that. We have about 13,000 members, including law students. Law students are automatically in the Boston area enrolled as members. And I think we do three things. And by the way, I think this fits because, again, I think the relationships you build at every stage of your career are so essential to us. But we have three areas I think of: education, public advocacy, and community. And on the education front, there's so think of yourself at either working for an agency or a law firm or in the public sector, and you have this organization. We put on 400 educational programs over the course of the year. Some of them are lunches, you bring a brown bag. Some of them are conferences with people there. So that's good, right? You need to learn more things when you're practicing law. But it also gives you an opportunity to interact with people. Maybe you have someone at your firm or where you work, the agency that you work, where you learn a lot from, someone like Kit, the guy who gave me that opportunity. But even if you do, you can't lean on that person completely, and getting involved in a bar association connects you with other people. People from other agencies, people from widely different practices can become, if not close personal friends, treasured and important professional colleagues. And so getting involved in these kinds of associations can be helpful to you on that. There's 20 sections, we call them, in our association, and we're no different than a lot of them. Cover all kinds of areas, but my favorite one is solo practitioners and small law firms. And it's given me an opportunity to see people who actually, so I'm at a big firm, there's support, right? These people are out there on their own, finding clients, helping people on a very personal basis, and succeeding and making a living. And that's just one component of the kinds of people you can meet if you take the opportunity to get involved in a bar association. I heard a speech by our former Chief Justice of our state Supreme Court once, where she said, in a way I can't do justice to, the best thing about being a lawyer is that you get to say to people, I can take care of that for you. And she was talking about a personal issue she had, a family member, but it's true in all areas. That is what we try and do. And we do it whether we're a solo practitioner or in a large law firm, or, good God, if you're working as a prosecutor, dealing with victims, trying to take care of some small piece of that agony. If you're a defense counsel, trying to deal with the accused, help the accused family. And if you're helping a business person, it's the same thing. That's what we should be doing. I can take care of that for you. Public advocacy is something else that we do at the Boston Bar Association. I want to mention that because there's this, and then I'll be done, almost. I accidentally came across a an excerpt from the diary of John Adams, right? One of the founders of the country. And I thought it was amazing because I swear to God, the entry on one day says, "I have not gotten a new client in a long time. Where is it going to come from?" And then the next day he says, 3 new clients today. And I thought, wow, I guess it's always been this way. This guy is practicing law and staying up late at night, writing the Massachusetts Constitution and helping found the country. And I thought, we always at the BVA like to mention John Adams because we trace our roots to him. He organized this meeting of lawyers at taverns and bars in the Boston area. But I thought that continues, not in the magnitude of a John Adams, but it continues today because there are lawyers who work during the day, but take time at night or during the day to advocate for people who are in need. So in our association, high up on our list is civil legal aid. We worked a lot on immigration principles this year. We have a new program to try and address the school to prison pipeline. And these are all opportunities that you have as a lawyer that to go beyond your working day, but bring a great deal to you. I'm a little afraid I'm talking too long, so I'm just going to say one other thing about community. Lawyers try and serve the community. We do pro bono work. But I want to talk about one other aspect of community. The ABA did a report that said lawyers have kind of exceedingly high rates of depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. And one of the best ways, the chronic stress, you will feel some chronic stress. Or I hope it's not chronic, but you'll feel some stress. And I think the best way, I understand this is what the people who study it say as well. The best indicator of maintaining a healthy life is having strong relationships in your life. Like it outranks all kinds of other factors. And so I would encourage you, and a bar association is just one way of doing it, right? Might be your church, it might be other community activities, but you will need it. You will need to have a community of people that you can talk to, that you get support from, and that you learn from. And so I guess my pitch is, I hope you find that at your job, but if you don't find it at your job, look for it in a bar association, and it gives you an opportunity. By the way, in these days, when we do public advocacy, lawyers, I think, I might be biased, but I think lawyers can certainly have a higher level of dialogue about public advocacy issues like immigration, like civil legal aid, than we are hearing outside in the world today. And that's part of our job, and that will be your job to carry on afterwards. So I really wish you the luck. It's awesome that you're here, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you.